Welcome to Low and Slow, where I show you recipes that take a little time and care but are well worth the effort. Tender beef inside of a crispy, cheesy tortilla and served with flavorful consomme, we're making quesadilla tacos. Start by thoroughly seasoning beef chuck and short rib with salt and pepper and letting that sit while you de-seed and clean guajillo and ancho chiles. Sear the beef in batches so each side is nice and brown and set that aside while you saute onions and garlic in the same pan. Once translucent, add tomatoes and cook for a few minutes before adding the clean chiles and arbo chiles. After stir frying for a few minutes, cover with water and simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. Add that to a blender along with vinegar, cumin, and Mexican oregano. Now toast your spices and in a large pot add the seared beef, the toasted spices, beef stock, and the pureed chiles using a strainer. Let that simmer low and slow for 4 to 5 hours until the beef is super tender. Season the consomme with salt to taste and shred up the beef, adding in some consomme so it stays nice and juicy. Dip corn tortillas in the fat of the consomme and add it to a pan with Oaxaca cheese, the beef, onions, and cilantro. Once the cheese is melted and the tortilla is crisp, fold it and serve it with consomme and lime. And that's it. Enjoy!
Cheesy, creamy chicken taquitos. These are one of my favorite things on the entire planet, you guys. Let's get into this recipe. So I'm seasoning 3 chicken breasts with some Kinder's, tequila, lime, and some salt and pepper. Once they're shredded and cooked, I'm gonna season them again, so I didn't put too much. I seared them on each side for about 7 minutes, and then I shredded them with a hand mixer. Then I added an Old El Paso chicken taco seasoning packet. I love the flavor of those for some reason. And then I added some garlic powder, paprika, about a half a cup of sour cream. You don't have to add sour cream, but I like mine to be really creamy. I made some pico de gallo. I diced up some tomatoes. I gutted them, some red onion, jalapeno, cilantro. Then I added some lime juice and some salt. For my cheese sauce, I'm adding some butter and some evaporated milk to a pot. I added about 8 ounces of Colby Jack cheese and then 8 ounces of pepper jack. I did not use all 12 ounces of the milk. I used probably like 75% of the can. Just make sure that cheese sauce doesn't boil because it will get ruined and it will become clumpy, because that is exactly what I did. So try to keep it on a low heat. I rolled them up. I used corn tortillas and I added some mozzarella cheese. I fried them on a medium-high heat for a couple minutes on each side. Try this out, you guys. Let me know what you think.
I bet you didn't know that if you melt some butter with minced garlic, double cream, and thicken it up with a flour mixture before adding in some salt, pepper, mixing well, and finally fresh thyme leaves and cheese until a sauce has formed. Second, begin to layer thinly sliced potatoes in a brazier. Season each layer with salt and pepper, and layer again before simply pouring the cheese sauce over top. All that's left to do is bake covered up at 400 for an hour and 30 minutes, making sure to uncover and grate some cheese over top at the end for a golden crispy finish. You will have just made the easiest and tastiest potatoes au gratin. It's perfectly cheesy and creamy. Comment recipe and I'll send you the link to the full recipe. You're gonna love this one. I'm posting a recipe every day for 100 days and this was recipe number 92. Happy holidays. I'll see you tomorrow for day 93.
Making breakfasts from beginner to pro. Starting off at beginner is the classic eggs, bacon and toast. The breakfast poster child, and for good reason. To elevate this simple dish, try sieving your eggs for a silkier texture and using water to render the fat in your bacon for extra crispiness. Very simple and very quick, making it the perfect beginner breakfast. For the intermediate breakfast, I've put shakshuka, a North African dish consisting of poaching eggs in a rich tomato sauce. It requires slightly more technique and a better understanding of flavor combinations. Poaching those eggs correctly and seasoning the sauce with a balance of herbs, lemon juice and olive oil. A step up from eggs and bacon, but perfectly doable with a bit of time and effort. Now at the pros breakfast we have the eggs benedict. It's really the hollandaise that makes this breakfast trickier than others. Without really understanding emulsification, you'll be lucky to get the sauce to form. Poached eggs, not so tricky. Just make a vortex in vinegared water and gently place in for 6 minutes. It's a dish worth mastering though, as breakfast doesn't get much better than this. The pro breakfast takes the win on this one.
How to dice and fine dice an onion like a pro. Start by getting an onion. It doesn't have to have the papery skin removed like mine. This is just how they come where I buy them. Slice in half through the root end. Lay onto the flat cut sides and take off the tops. Then peel off the outside layer of flesh. This is one of the most important steps. This layer is a little dry and leathery and tends to burn when cooking. But don't waste it. Throw it in your freezer with the other bits of vegetable trim and save it for a stock. Rotate the onion so the root is facing away from you. Then, slicing in the same direction as the lines of the onion, start to slice across but not all the way through to the root like this. Spin 90 degrees and make 2 horizontal cuts into the onion. This step isn't 100% necessary, but it does give you a more uniform dice in the end. Pinch the onion together and slice across that until you get to the end, which gets a bit wobbly. So lay that onto the other flat side, which is a lot more stable, and continue slicing. Then make a slice coming off from the root and slice across that until you have just this little piece of root remaining. Save that for stocks as well. I would use this dice for stews, soups, rustic tomato sauces, onion jams, all sorts of things. Now onto the fine dice. The process is exactly the same, just with finer cuts. So following the lines of the onion, start to slice across. Notice how I'm using my fingers as a guide by moving them back across the onion and not pushing the onion through to chop it. I see a lot of people chopping like this online, and it's an easy way to lose a fingertip. Now make some horizontal cuts in. This time I'm doing 4 cuts. Once again, this is optional, but it does give a much more consistent result. You always get some bits that fall out, just put them to one side and chop them separately. Pinch together and start to chop across, just making more cuts to get a finer dice. When it starts to get a bit unstable, flip it onto the flat side and continue slicing. Then make some more incisions up to the root and slice across that until you have just the same piece of root left. And that's a fine dice, perfect for risottos, delicate sauces, salsas, and plenty more.